Alrighty, week 53, welcome back. We've been away for a little bit, working feverishly on a lot of features, but we've got a couple cool demos for you guys today. Little short man here, but I'm gonna go ahead and kick us off with a few things that I'm working on. Okay, can you guys see that? Cool. All right, so first thing that I worked on recently is migrating our docs to our SDK monorepo. Now, we talk a lot about dog fooding, and of course, it's important for many different reasons. And so this was something that we really wanted to do for a long time, is kind of move our documentation away from external frameworks, put it in our our monorepo. Of course, because we can do like agents and routes and front end, it's a full Agentuity project. So if I show you kind of the UI, it's going to look pretty similar to what it did before. Of course, we still have our Explorer. You can still interact with all this stuff the same way. And we have a sidebar. All the same pages exist in here as well. So I'll show that off in a second, but to kind of walk through the code a little bit and how this is set up, we've got the docs application within our SDK. And all of the docs content we've added under the web folder, under a content subfolder, right? And so all these files are still markdown. We still have like the front matter, so all that stays the same. You get the same, styling and everything. Difference just being that it gets all deployed with us. We're not using an external framework, basically. And then a couple other things to show there. In terms of routes, we've got we're using 10-stack router here. So, I have this create file route function, which is basically linking like the docs pages to their specified routes. And the cool thing about that is we do that on like not just the agent's pages, but also the Explorer. So, for example, if we go down to like the AI gateway, right? You have a route there that you can bookmark, easily access. You find a demo in the Explorer that you like. It's really easy to navigate to that in that way. Another benefit of that, of course, is like you can search for something like vector storage, for example, and then find like the relevant Explorer page right at the top. So a couple of benefits or quality of life benefits there. And then you'll notice that like we still have the code blocks, table of contents, all that fun stuff. And we're actually using both remark and rehype to do this. So you'll see that we're using remark for GitHub flavored markdown to actually get that front matter from the MDX files, extracting the table of contents so you can like obviously like use that to navigate. But yeah, that's basically like the setup for how we've gotten our docs moved over. And yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff, you can click into previous pages. You can Command K and like toggle between asking AI and the normal search. And of course, these also link to like relevant pages as well. So yeah, this was a long time coming. It's nice to finally have, our docs as an Agentuity project, full blown. And it gives us so much freedom to like do even simple stuff like make the Explorer like a full, a full width page if you don't want to look at the docs at all, right? And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We also have like breadcrumbs. So for example, if I go to a section with like 3 levels, in this case, like for local development, you'll get like the CLI reference, and then you can also go back to like the main index page. And this is something that I'll have to make better because right now it's not really helpful to just have a bunch of icons when it's in the sidebar, but we'll have more information here for you, probably more so for your coding agents, so they know like what all these things are without having to like go through and read all of them. So yeah, just exciting that we get to do like a bunch of stuff with our docs now that it's fully moved over. So that's the first demo. But then the other thing that I've been working on recently is adding a whole bunch of examples. So As you'll see, we have like 4 different folders for this sort of revamp of the examples repo. And I'll kind of quickly walk through them and show a few of those off. So first one is just training. This is sort of for like more step-by-step structured content. We kind of walked you through like your basic, very first hello world agent, all the way through to like deep research, multi-agent, you're using external APIs, right? All that stuff. And of course, we'll find a place to like put this content so it's easier to like actually, digest it. But for now, that'll be in here in case you need that. But the second one, the second folder and set of examples that I worked on, is this existing apps. So this is more so for like brownfield projects. Say you're using something like TanStack Start, but you want to add Agentuity agents and make use of some of our services. Now we have an example that kind of shows you like what that looks like in action. So we can just take a look at this TanStack Start example. And you'll notice kind of just looking at the structure over here that, it's a full TanStack Start project. And then you've got your Agentuity folder, which has the source code and your agents and your API. Obviously not the web folder, but everything else, right? So that's kind of the pattern that you would do for these brownfield projects. And we can really quickly walk through what the TanStack Start project is. Oh, before I do that, I should cancel out of the docs that are running locally. And then notice you got your agents, the backend agents, port 3500, but TanStack's going to be over here. And I'll let this run because it might take a second, but if you've used our default template, you'll recognize kind of what this looks like. It's basically a translate agent with evals. Same exact idea as the default template, but of course, just with TanStack, right? And there you go. You can see like it translated this input text that we have. And you see your thread ID and your session ID and the tokens. We head over to the logs. You can see like it ran the agent and then ran some evals alongside it. So all 3 of these examples in here do the same thing. They're all default translate agents, but hopefully like it should give you or your coding agents a bit more context and a reference implementation if you want to use it with an existing project. So we'll navigate back. And the next thing that I want to talk about is this integration section. Actually, we'll start with this features section next, which is kind of as the name implies. This is more so for building just projects on Agentuity that kind of use different features. So, if you're thinking about like the Explorer, right? That's really good for like an intro into something like evals or, all of our streaming primitives. But of course, for like a more interesting project, you probably want to mix and match, right? And so, for an example like this, which is like our scheduled digest, it's going to use a cron job. It's going to use KV storage and durable streams to basically grab like top news from Hacker News, top repos from GitHub, like trending repositories, and give you like a daily digest. So I won't run that locally, but I do have a durable stream from when I tested this earlier. And of course, like if you're familiar with durable streams, it's, write once, read many. So we got this nice digest, and these are all clickable links from all the Hacker News posts. This one's pretty interesting. Someone taught their dog how to vibe code, which is insane. I won't spoil it, but like it's a cool YouTube video that you should check out. And then, we can scroll down, got top trending repos as well. So I don't know. I guess for me, like it's sometimes I'll bookmark something that I find interesting, but I'll never like actually go to it. So I feel like durable streams is a cool way to just have like a snapshot of the day's top news. And you can just like give this to your coding agents, right? And have them summarize or give you project ideas, all that fun stuff. So that's the second example. And then let's go back to the last thing that I want to show, which is the integrations folder. So this one's going to have a whole bunch of frameworks and libraries that work alongside Agentuity. So like Agentuity projects where you're using Mostra or LangChain or OpenAI Agents SDK, so on and so forth. So we've got a bunch of examples in here now. Shout out to Dylan and Joel for helping out with a ton of this. Definitely want to give them credit, but the thing that I worked on is this Chat SDK, which I want to show you real quick. So let's pull that up. And you'll notice we've got like READMEs that are hopefully very useful for you and your agents. But Vercel actually put out this Chat SDK library recently. And what it is basically a library that lets you write your bot logic once in a single code base, and you can connect it to like different frameworks like Slack and Teams and Discord and stuff. And so that's still in beta, but we've got an example coming for that with Agentuity. And before I bore you with like the internal details, we can just see it in action. So the way that I have it set up is it runs in both Slack and in Discord. So, in Slack, we can just go ahead and add the bot and send it a message. And if it works, it'll reply in a thread by default. So you can see it's like, giving a generic message. And you can also like add a reaction. I'm gonna have to blow this up a little bit. But you can add a reaction and it'll like recognize that and like send a nice message back, or it should. That might not be working, but I'll show you in Discord because it works there as well. And it's the same bot logic, right? So just say hello, it'll open a thread, it'll respond, you can send a reaction, and then you'll get like a simple message, right? Thanks for the thumbs up. But you can send multi-turn messages. So we can just ask, what was my last message? And it'll know like what I sent earlier. And to do that, we're actually using KV storage. There's a couple of features that the Chat SDK actually lets you do, but the reason we use KV is just so we can have like a nice place to see all your previous messages. And you can also like customize the TTL that you have. So we head back. You can see like I've tested this a bunch of times in like Slack DMs and Discord threads, whatever. And you can see like exactly what the conversation history was. Plus you can control like how many messages you want in that history. So kind of just gives you a bit more control over all that. But in terms of the bot code, it's pretty simple. You'll see we were just defining like when the bot is mentioned, what it does when it's subscribed to a thread, how it reacts, and how it responds to reactions. And then all these have the same like handle message function, which literally is just going to run our chat agent that we've imported up here and respond in that thread. So yeah, that's kind of the SparkNotes version of our full examples repo. And obviously we're going to be adding a lot more in there, but yeah, hopefully that's useful for all of you guys. So that's going to do it for me, and I'll pass it over to Gabe.
All right, thanks, Parteek. I'm here to talk about something that is something that we have been working on, and you should be working on too, which is the idea of building your own SaaS, or in the idea of not letting SaaS steal all your money when you just need something basic. Back in the day, before agents were a thing, right, you would not have a way to delegate building your own ticket system to someone, because either your slightly unpaid intern would not know how to do this, or your overpaid intern would, be busy doing important stuff. But nowadays, since we have agents, we can delegate them to do that, which is a pattern that I've been noticing more and more in the industry. People have been building these internal systems for themselves instead of doing stuff. In this case here, I just want to showcase some cool things that we have done here in our system, which is our task system here on our App Center, which has integration with agents. I do have to give it a shout out to Bobby, which is not here today because Tommy hurt. But he added a bunch of cool skills for adding like tasks, managing tasks and all that. He built like this cool system that we can provide like API keys. We can make an environment that is locally to us. We generate the API key. We put this API key in the environment for us, and then like the agents will use these API keys to access our Op Center like URL, and then be able to do stuff in our place instead of like trying to do like a bunch of shenanigans with internal system. It's all blurred out right now. I did it for safety. I don't believe there's sensitive information here anyway, but we don't want to spoil anything either. So it's better to just keep it blurred. But I built this in 2 days. The point is exactly that. Like the whole system was built in 2 days. It's a very small system. I'm still working on finalizing some stuff with it, but it has like full features. It has inline document sending. It has attachments. It has tags, custom tags, assignments, and it links with some like internal stuff from ours as well. It keeps history of what changed in the ticket system as well. It's supposed to have some issues at some point, but that's on the to-do list. But it's like the situation is more to talk about how our internal systems are going to be changing with this AI paradigm. Like you're slowly going to stop hiring these bunch of micro SaaS that do small things and more building your own specified things, because this is a problem that even before coming to Agentuity on other companies and all of that, I've noticed more and more people be like, oh, I'm going to hire, I don't know, I'm going to hire Jira. And then all of a sudden they like ignore 90% of the features of Jira just because they just want to track the issues. And that's it. It's like, so like build what you need. If you can build with, purpose, instead of like just being like, oh, I'm going to just grab all these random SaaS and I'm going to use like 5% of each one of them and pay full price for it. This is like a paradigm that is shifting slowly more and more. And the other thing is, if you're using agents, build something like either a skill or something. I do have, for example, something that I use a lot of times, which is the skill for code Rabbit that just uses the GitHub CLI and just grabs the conversations from the GitHub review and reviews them. So it's like, if you have already a tool like GitHub CLI or something like that, you can build skills, you can build interesting things for your agents to already start working with it. So you don't need like now all of a sudden to have all these connections and weird stuff and MCP servers. Just build a skill, use your CLI tools, and you can go like a long way forward with it. And from my side, it's pretty basic because I show internal data, but from now on with Jeff.
All right, thanks, Gabe. Let's see, I've got a bunch of stuff to show. Let me switch over here. I'll start with the CLI. We added a number of new services that are rolling out this week. So all these services are out and available in the CLI and production. I'm going to demo mostly the UI, some of the app UI that we're adding that should hopefully roll out tonight or certainly over the weekend. The big new services that we rolled out this week are Webhooks, a task system, which plays a little bit on what Gabe just demoed. We'll see, schedules, and one more. What was the other one? There's so many now. So there's probably one that I'm missing that I'll show when I show it in the UI. So all these again are available via email. So all these are available via the CLI. So for example, creating emails, etc. I'm going to flip over and show it visually from the UI. That's what I'm working on right now and testing, rolling out a number of new improvements. I'll start with some of the existing screens. So we do have some nicer visualization of higher level analytics or stats now that every screen will now have. Should hopefully show you a little bit better information. And we have, for example, in databases, we have a number of system databases that get created depending on the services that you use. This gets stored in your tenant, single tenant database, which is really nice because then if you take it on premise, it's the same exact data just stored in your on-premise database as if you do, kind of our cloud database, and then of course your own user database. We made that a little bit easier to kind of see between the two. And of course, they're already marked with this little badge, so you also know that it's a system database, for example. And if you get into them, it actually shows you, which I think is really exciting. So if you go into any of them, this is an existing feature, but just to remind you if you haven't seen it, you can just see everything that's in the databases. So these are just, in your database, we built sort of systems around them to make it really easy. So you can sort of see the schema, you can see everything about it, the data, et cetera. Let's first start to the new service, emails. So we now have first-class email support. This first phase it rolled out this week is only available for vanity emails, meaning like our domains at agentuity.email. So you can give your system a unique email address. It does have to be globally unique, obviously, because we're sharing the same domain. So you'll have to pick an address that is unique to your to that domain. We will be adding support, hopefully early next week. We'll be adding support for your own custom domain. So if you already have a custom domain, you'll be able to enter your custom domain, set it up, and then use your own domain, your own branded domain. You don't have to use our domain. I'll just click on this, and you can sort of see we've also built kind of a nice visualization. You, of course, do all this from the SDK or do all this from the CLI as well. You get all the emails, the deliveries, you can set up destinations, et cetera. But if you come in from the web app, it's pretty nice. You can actually, I'll actually use it as a functional client, which is really nice, especially in the case where you're trying to see what maybe your agent's emailing people. You can kind of come in here and see what it emailed and what it did. But you can also kind of use it as a functional client. And I went ahead and added some really nice things. You can't see it, but I'm moving my keyboard up and down to sort of to kind of view in this, and then you can hit. I've got some nice shortcut keys here, so you can do. If you did want to use it as an email client for checking maybe your agent's email, you can also do things like shortcut keys, move back and forth with arrow keys, hit escape. So that's kind of nice. You can also hit tab and up or space rather, and you can auto select if you want to delete a bunch, or if you hit N, you can bring up the send new email, or if you hit R, you can bring up reply automatically. So there's some really nice little things that you can do here right in the keyboard. And of course, like every screen, you can also see if I wanted to get this email here and I want to just flip over to my CLI, I can get all the information about this email, and then I can do everything I'm showing you from the CLI, from the UI, you can do from the CLI or the SDK. You can use our JavaScript SDK as well. Destinations, what you can do with destinations is you want to, this is probably the typical use case because you want to create an email address, give that email address to an agent, and then you want your agent to do something when an email address comes in. So you can create a destination. One email can have 0 destinations, meaning it doesn't have to have a destination because you want to poll the email, hit the API to get the email. Or you could create like a reactive system where when an email comes in, I want to have it forward to my API. Today, right now, what's live is only when you create a destination, you can only do an API. So you select a email address and you give it a webhook effectively, and then it'll deliver to that webhook. What will come out hopefully next week will be you can give it more of our systems. You can give it a sandbox, spin up a sandbox when an email comes in. You can give it a queue, place the message in a queue. You'll have different things that you can, assign it to a project and pick an agent. You'll be able to actually forward it automatically to the agent. So we'll have more destinations now that we've got the basic infrastructure in place that you'll be able to mix and match. And you can, of course, have it go in multiple places. Maybe I want to hit an email, or when the email comes in, I want to hit an API. But I also want to place that email into a queue because I want to have some maybe reactive thing that happens based on emails as well. Like maybe have your agent go analyze the email and come up with a response or something like that. So that's email. Let me jump down here to, I'll just show real quick KBs. You can sort of see some of the nicer stats. Queues already had stats. Let me now jump down to schedules. Schedules are basically cron jobs. I want to basically set up a cron job and I want it to run. I want to create a schedule that says nightly, I want to do a whole bunch of things, right? Every night, I want to run these 3 different tasks. So I want to create a schedule and have it manage that. So I've got this little test schedule here. If I click into it, you can sort of see I've already set up a destination, just a little test guy with fix. So I've set up a destination. So this is going to fire every minute, and it's going to place, it's going to trigger this URL. You can see here it's been triggering every minute here, and you can click on the trigger, and you can sort of see what the end URL is responding with. And again, like the others, you can you'll be able to create multiple destinations. So you'll be able to say, okay, every minute I want to run a or every night I want to run a sandbox, and I want to run a specific snapshot, and I want to have it do some sort of job, for example. So that's that will also get multi-destination support here really soon. And then let's go down now to webhooks. I'll come back to task in a second. Webhooks. We have this a lot. I'm sure most of you do as well. We have a lot of third-party systems that need to send webhooks to us, like a GitHub, for example, or Slack or something, where you have these third-party systems, you want to manage it, but you need to be able to queue them and asynchronously process them and have them be durable. So instead of building all that infrastructure out, we just made that available as a primitive now, a webhook primitive. So I've just created this this test webhook, and it will give me a URL. So this URL is stable. So you can give that, you can put that URL, for example, in GitHub. If you wanted to have, every GitHub push, for example, get sent into a system. So you can create that URL, put that in your system. And then again, very similar to the others, you can create a destination. So right now we have API destinations. Very quickly, you'll have queues, sandboxes, et cetera. And following the same example. And so here's an example. This webhook got triggered. And then it obviously went to this destination. You can see the delivery here. It came in. Here's the data that came in from my payload. And then here was the delivery. It went out to this destination here. And you can sort of see it was 204. It was successful. And you can also replay if you want to replay those webhooks, for example. Let's say you're in a testing mode. You want to get a GitHub webhook or like a Slack webhook. And then you want to maybe hit your agent, or you want to hit some sort of sandbox. But then you want to just replay it over and over and over to like test from development mode. It's really nice. So you don't want to have to like keep hitting it over and over to like maybe like work out a reply or work out a bot or something like that. You can do that. Or let's say maybe you had an issue on your app and there was some weird bug or whatever, and you just need to come in and replay those sandbox or those webhooks. So that's all built in now, as well as it will automatically retry. It'll automatically back off, so it'll do all that kind of stuff for you. So you don't have to build any of that kind of like logic for rate limiting or any of that stuff. You don't have to build any of that in. It's just built into our system now. All right. And then last but not least, task. Task is basically a bit of a riff on what Gabe showed in our Ops Center, but it's a low-level primitive that we've decided this week to introduce. And I'll explain partly why. Partly why is we have this new Coder product that we've been building, and we've been showing that off, the Coder Web open source project that we've made available. One of the things that we're doing with Coder is we are building a number of capabilities, agentic infrastructure capabilities that leverage our infrastructure. Now, Coder already leverages our infrastructure for like and vector and a bunch of things for like better recall when you're working on a task, for example. It just uses all those same primitives. One of the things that we've noticed after having used it now for several weeks, all of us have kind of switched to it, is that each of these Coder sessions are kind of independent of each other, and they all want to track task. And depending on the agent, some might want to track it in a markdown file, some might just keep it all in the session memory and try to like keep a checklist in the traditional kind of to-do thing that the agent tries to do in the harness. But often it can lose when, especially in a complicated set of tasks, it kind of lose where it was and what it needed to do. And when it compacts and comes back, it forgot the task. In fact, I just had that happen on this on working through some of these issues today, where I'd given it a bunch of tasks that it needed to go, bugs it needed to go fix. It went through a compact cycle. It went through fixing a bunch of bugs, and it got to the end and it forgot about 3 of the tasks. I had to go back and go, hey, don't forget to do these 3 tasks, and it had to go back and remember it because it doesn't have really a task tracking system. Now, there are third-party things out there already, like Beads is really popular right now. There's a bunch of different systems out there, but we felt like it was really important to just kind of build this directly into our infrastructure. We think that's a really important primitive that we want to build into the coding agents. And we just want to make that available to the coding agents automatically because they know how to use our CLI really well. And with the new upcoming coder, they'll even know how to use it even more directly. So I won't drill into any of this, but this is all available via the CLI and our SDK, which is what our coder product will use. But the intention is that the coding agent, as it's going through and building your plans out, will use our task tracking system, which will be stored in your tenant database. So you get to see everything and it's tied directly to your database. We're not hiding anything. It's not, it's safe to put all that in your database. The agent will be able to create and manage the task list just like you would expect in a linear, or like Gabe was saying, or a Jira, but it's all built in. And of course, if you wanted to use this task system to build your own or use your own without having to buy a third-party system or whatever, you could do that as well. So that'll just be totally built into the box here with this new rollout. So with that, and then of course you can create tasks, etc. from the UI. And with that, I believe that wraps us up for the week. Thanks everyone. I hope you have a great week like we've had, and look forward to seeing you next week. We'll have a lot more next week.